Hello, and welcome to Everything Fear, your one-stop shop for all things horror. I'm Kit Tinsley. I'm a horror author, film academic, and general horror geek. Welcome back to Everything Fear. After an overly long hiatus, we're back to start giving you regular content about all things horror movies. So, here we are. It's September. The spooky season is almost upon us. So I thought today we'd take the time to look at the top 10 most anticipated horror films still to come in 2022. Number 10, The Visitor. This new horror movie from Blumhouse looks intriguing. Directed by Justin P. Lang, who made 2018's wonderful The Dark, a film that managed to be both awful and sweet, and in a lot of ways reminded me of Let the Right One In. The Visitor tells the story of Robert, played by British actor Finn Jones, who you'll recognise from the Marvel TV series Iron Fist, and also from his role as Solaris Tyrell on Game of Thrones. Robert and his wife, played by the Meg's Jessica McNamee, move back to her childhood home. There Robert discovers an old portrait of a man who looks just like him. Robert then goes down a rabbit hole trying to discover the identity of this doppelganger. From the trailer, this looks like a well-made horror thriller with some supernatural overtones.
No, go! Go! You're home.
Number 9, The Lair. There used to be a time when the thought of a new Neil Marshall film filled everyone with excitement. However, after his amazing debut with Dog Soldiers and the claustrophobically terrifying follow-up of The Descent, it's fair to say that Marshall's output has been hit and miss. The Lair does have a lot of people excited though, because it combines two big elements from Dog Soldiers: the British military and B-movie monsters. The film tells the story of RAF pilot Lieutenant Kate Sinclair, played by Charlotte Kirk, who played the lead in Marshall's last movie, the hit and miss The Reckoning. Sinclair is shot down over Afghanistan, where she finds refuge in a bunker. Unfortunately for her, the bunker contains a new biological weapon, alien-human hybrids, which of course are released and run amok. There is potential for this to be a really good movie, with strong Dog Soldiers, The Outpost type vibes. Number 8, Venus. This movie is directed by Jaime Balguero, who famously directed two of my favourite horror movies of recent years, Wreck and the wonderful Fragile. The plot is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's Dreams in the Witch House, and sets witchcraft in the urban sprawl of a modern concrete apartment block in Madrid. Though inspired by Lovecraft, apparently the film takes a more realistic and crime thriller kind of approach, rather than cosmic horror. Rumoured to have some very gory effects and great action sequences, this is one I'm really looking forward to. Number 7, Jeepers Creepers Reborn. This franchise, of course, has become the scourge of the horror genre, thanks to the abhorrent crimes of the series' creator, who I will not even dignify by naming in this video. This fourth instalment is planned to be the first entry in a new trilogy, and it's the first film in the franchise to have no involvement from the series creator. There's still going to be a lot of argument about it and whether he will benefit in some way from this movie, but a lot of people are excited for it. Personally, I can take or leave this series. I've thought that the first one was a great horror movie, before I knew what the director had done. I thought the second was okay. The third was truly, truly awful. Reborn is directed by Timo Vuorensalo, whose previous directorial efforts had been the two tongue-in-cheek Nazi moonbase B-movies in the Iron Sky series. So maybe there will be some low-budget B-movie fun to be had with Jeepers Creepers Reborn.
It's coming.
Number 6, Smile. Here in the UK, this film is actually being released today. There will be a review of this movie coming up very soon on the channel. Smile is the feature debut of writer-director Parker Finn, who had previously directed several award-winning shorts. The trailer for this movie caused quite a sensation online when it was released, with lots of people saying it was utterly terrifying and the scariest thing they'd ever seen.
Smiling at me.
You're going to die! You're going to die! You're going...
Although personally I find that this kind of hyperbole sets expectations far too high for any movie to live up to, I do have to say that this trailer is genuinely creepy. In the film, psychiatrist Dr. Rose Cotter, played by Sophie Bacon from 13 Reasons Why and Mayor of Easttown, begins to experience frightening occurrences that she can't explain after witnessing a traumatic and strange event involving one of her patients. This forces Rose to face up to her own troubling past in order to escape this new nightmare reality. 5. Mr. Harrigan's Phone. I think that we're in the middle of a second golden age of Stephen King adaptations. His work attracted really big names in the 70s and 80s and really big budget movies, then became solid made-for-TV movies throughout the 90s and into the 2000s. Now though, big names are returning to the horror master's work. This adaptation is based on a novella in the 2020 collection If It Bleeds. The film is directed by John Lee Hancock, who is an award-winning filmmaker, but more known for uplifting dramas like The Blind Side or Saving Mr. Banks. The film stars Jordan Martell, who's no stranger to the world of Stephen King, having played Bill Denborough in both It and It Chapter 2. Here he plays Craig, a young man who gets a job working for a local elderly man, Mr. Harrigan, played by the legend that is Donald Sutherland. When the old man dies, Craig leaves him voice messages on his phone, talking to him about people who've upset him and hurt him. These people then end up dead by apparent suicide. It's always exciting waiting for a new Stephen King adaptation, because you're always there wondering, will this be another It? Or will it be a Firestarter 2020?
My grandma always used to say, a person shouldn't call out unless they want an answer.
Number 4, The Pale Blue Eye. This movie will probably end up being more horror adjacent than out and out horror. Directed by Antlers and Hostiles helmer Scott Cooper, and based on the novel by Lewis Bayard, the film stars Christian Bale as a veteran detective hunting a serial killer with the help of a detail-orientated young West Point cadet by the name of Edgar Allan Poe, played by Harry Melling. Yes, that's right. America's biggest horror literary figure is being played by Harry Potter's cousin, Dudley Dursley. As I say, this will probably be more of a dark serial killer thriller than an all-out horror movie. However, the inclusion of Edgar Allan Poe as a character and Cooper's own history with dark horror with Antlers suggests that it will be worth watching for horror fans. Number 3, VHS 99. This 5th entry in the ever-growing found footage anthology series comes just 1 year after the last entry, VHS 1994. My own history with this franchise is mixed. I absolutely love the first movie, think that the second one's okay, despise the third, and thought that the fourth was alright. It was pretty weak though, bar Simon Barrett's wonderful segment, which is the only one that actually managed to have any kind of tension or scariness to it. The rest of it was just over-the-top gore for no real reason. The trailer for 99 looks unfortunately like it's keeping in with the tradition of the previous movie, but with segments from Tyler McIntyre, who directed the wonderful, wonderful Tragedy Girls, and Johan Roberts, who made 47 Meters Down, there is some hope that there might be some good in this movie. Number 2, Hellraiser. This is probably the one on the list that I personally am most excited for. Hellraiser, the original, is a very important film for me. I watched it when I was far, far too young, and I think it had a lasting impression on me to this day that is responsible for me doing what I do.
Beautiful, isn't it? It's really nice. You can hold it.
The first and second movies are fantastic. The rest of the franchise ranges from okay to mediocre to terrible. Clive Barker's novella that the film is based on, The Hellbound Heart, is a startlingly good piece of literature. The reboot's director, David Bruckner, says that they are returning more to that original novella source material for this movie. Bruckner is very well versed in horror, being responsible for one of the best segments in the original VHS, and also for directing the wonderful Adam Neville novel adaptation, The Ritual, and 2020's astonishing The Night House. He's a director who seems to know how to build tension, but also mix in more sort of slow burn emotional horror, but also include a lot of visceral horror. And this is something that could work really well within the framework of Hellraiser. The casting of transgender actor Jamie Clayton has caused some grumblings from the more bigoted side of the fandom. However, anyone who has read the source material will know that Pinhead is actually described as being of undeterminable gender. He seems to be neither male nor female. So this mixed with the wonderful makeup that we've seen in the pre-release pictures and the trailer give me high hopes for this movie, and that Clayton will give an outstanding performance.
All for us.
What is it you pray for?
Hello, if you're enjoying this video, if you could please give us a like, subscribe, and tickle that bell icon to be notified when we upload future content, that would be great, thank you. Number 1, Halloween Ends. The most anticipated horror movie of the year, if not the decade, is the final chapter in Blumhouse's trilogy of Halloween movies. One that is claiming to be the end of the franchise, although I personally find that hard to believe. I'm sure that within 5 years, some executive somewhere will think it's time to bring Michael out of retirement. This film follows 2018's Halloween, a film that cut away all the flab from the franchise, making itself a direct sequel to the original 1978 movie and getting rid of everything else after that. This was a great move because it brought back a lot of the tension from the original Carpenter movie. It focused on tension rather than extreme violence. This was followed in 2021 by Halloween Kills, the second entry in the trilogy. This one was very divisive. This time, director David Gordon Green went full on with the gore and violence, making one of the more brutal and over-the-top entries in the series. I know that the constant chant of "evil dies tonight, evil dies tonight" gets a little bit annoying, but on the whole, I really enjoyed this one. With a final showdown between Michael Myers and series final girl Laurie Strode that claims that one of them will die for sure. This is really shaping up to be one of the most anticipated movies of the year, definitely, if not, as I say, the decade. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and until next time, stay scared and stay tuned.